today we will discuss Right to Information Act 2005. What are the salient features of the legislation? A brief background to this law, the need for this legislation, and how citizens can get an information under this legislation. Let's look at, this is a very, I think most of us we know about R.K. Lakshman. R.K. Lakshman, through this cartoon, explains how this right to information can act as a weapon of the common man. The question really is this legislation a really weapon for a common man, or it's like any other law? No, we have several laws. We have a constitution which is considered as the one of the fundamental law of this country. Why it's a fundamental law? Because all the laws, all the rules, everything, anything which is a legal norm has to satisfy the constitution. But when it comes to the Right to Information Act, is it a real special law? Is it a new law? As R.K. Lakshman has pointed out through its cartoon, is it really a weapon of a common man? Let's look at the history and how the whole struggle for seeking information started, was initiated in India. What was the shape it has taken almost all the 2 decades? So let's look at some of these briefly. Let's look at the history. Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, I think most of us we are aware, MKSS is a workers and farmers organization, was set up in Rajasthan and started functioning in the rural places in Rajasthan. Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan started, I think, way back in 1994 with a single point agenda, or particularly they wanted to know how the muster rolls in the construction works of Rajasthan are being maintained. We know panchayats have been now becoming more and more important in the everyday local governance. So MKSS, with the help of the villagers, they wanted to know how the development works, particularly the construction works, have been happening in the state of Rajasthan. So they tried to obtain some information. They could not get a proper reply. Okay. Engineer gives some information, somebody gives some other information, and that information is not properly given. There is some manipulation. So when they realized that it is difficult to get an information to the citizens about the developmental work of the village, what they have done is they have taken a very path-breaking decision to organize people's hearings, public hearings in several parts of Rajasthan. So they started again with the Rajasthan. They called all the people. They asked them, do you know about what are the developmental works conducted in this village? Is there the construction work? How many workers have been engaged? How much of money as a budget has been provided by the central or state government? How this money is being spent? So this started as a whole initiated a struggle for seeking an information for citizens, how this money is being spent, how to know about the everyday governance, everyday decisions which are being taken in village panchayat. So this process of MKSS resulted in a huge movement of almost all 2 decades struggle to get this legislation. So they called as a Jan Sunwanis, public hearings. So started with this, only this, to know about how the developmental works have been organized in Rajasthan. That was in 1994. They have organized several public hearings, Jan Sunwani, in various places in Rajasthan. That resulted, for the first time, the state of Rajasthan coming out with some draft guidelines for citizens to get an information. Arun Kumar Committee, which is very important in that direction. Then later in 1996, Press Council, along with the MKSS, prepared a draft bill in 1996. That was also the same time the government has shown keen interest, the government of India has shown a keen interest and requested H.D. Shourie, very eminent public service spirited citizen who started a Common Cause, which is a very powerful NGO which really fought for the common cause and public interest of Indian citizens. So H.D. Shourie Committee has come out with draft Freedom of Information Bill, and later on in 2005 it resulted in Right to Information Act. So this is a brief history where it started with the Rajasthan. MKSS spearheaded the movement, Arunan Roy and others, and they were instrumental in passing of this legislation. So is it a real weapon for the common man? Look at how RTI, when it was started, RTI was started seeking information for in the village, how the village panchayat is functioning, various things. But now look at when the RTI was started as to seek information about local self-governance, particularly in panchayat, how the ambit of RTI spread into various spheres, everyday activities of the citizen's life. It's not confined only to this. Then we have seen how even this MKSS again was in the main forefront to start with the right to food agitation also. The right to food agitation also they are trying to seek several types of information. For instance, how many public distribution system or fair price shops are working in various villages and cities in India, particularly in Rajasthan? Are they properly working? Whether the food grains have been properly distributed, whether fair price shops are properly working, they are distributing these food grains. So that's it moved into from governance to the food and into education. We have seen, no, it's not restricted any activity, any sphere, any area. So right to information cuts across every branch of governance, every area where a citizen requires to know about the information, whether it is governance, education, food, shelter, life, right to life and personal liberty, decision making process at the state, central, local, everywhere. So right to information is not like any other law. It's not yet another law. It is a very comprehensive, for the first time in India, which provides access to information for the citizen and also puts for the first time a mandatory duty on the public official to provide the information. Okay, we will come into all the details little later. So right to information has come out of 2 decades of struggle, people's struggles in India. Okay, so that's the important thing we should remember when we look at the right to information, which is not yet another law. Okay, right to information, people have said it is also as a right to information also is people say is a second wave of democracy. Second wave of democracy wherein people for the first time were in the main forefront, seeking the information, getting the information. Okay, so therefore it is also can be called as a second wave of the democracy. We had earlier in 1923 a legislation which is called as Official Secrets Act. See how the journey of the law started from a colonial legislation where information is secret, and from secrecy of information to the transparency in the information. That's the whole how the law has moved from the keeping confidential information to sharing of the information. That is the whole importance of this legislation, Right to Information Act, which provides for the first time the citizens to seek an information. Even we have seen even a simple information how the government or the state treats as a confidential. Let's say in a case of a postmortem report. We have seen postmortem report is important in some areas of criminal justice system particularly in dowry deaths or in case of any other injuries. Postmortem report is a important document to establish the scientific happening of this. What is the injury? How the injury has happened? So, unlike the other type of information, postmortem report is a very valid information, and there are others also. It is not expert evidence can be considered. They have to come before various things. But how citizens found difficult before the Right to Information Act even to ask the medical officer to get the postmortem report. Obtaining the postmortem report was such a difficult task. There is nothing confidential in this. No, when after, let's say there's a injuries are received or if there's a death happened, immediately the doctor will conduct a postmortem. They'll send the report. Report has to be placed before the court. So, if a citizen or the victim or the parties, those who are the part of these victims, relatives of the deceased, any of the relatives, if they wanted to seek an information, it was difficult to obtain that information, even the postmortem report. But now we have seen, except very restricted areas of exempted information, information is available almost all the places. So that is where we have seen that information is becoming as an important aspect of the everyday governance. So we have, why do we require information? We require information because it is in the public domain, because citizens want to know how they have governed, citizens want to know how the decisions have been taken. So this flows from the freedom of speech and expression. But freedom of speech and expression only explained about limited right to know of the citizens. A full-fledged, comprehensive provision started with the Right to Information Act of 2005. So access, why do we require information? Yes, citizens need to know about what is happening. What is information? Information is, it's a whole range of which the Right to Information Act has explained about. It includes several aspects. Information may be a record, information may be a document, information may be a mail, opinion, advice, press release, circular, order, logbook, contracts, reports, what not, everything which is available in the public domain before the public information officer or a public official, that the citizens has a right to know about this information, and the public official has the duty to share this information. So it takes several forms. They can take notes of this information, they can take extracts of the information, they can obtain copies of the document, they can inspect works, documents, records, take certified samples. All these are available under the Right to Information Act. As we have discussed, it is a part of the fundamental right to know, right to information, implicit in the right to freedom of speech and expression. Under this legislation, the government, state and the central government have set up several institutions and mechanisms to facilitate easy access to information. Transparency and accountability for people's participation in governance started with this information. The ultimate objective of this information is to minimize corruption and inefficiency in public offices. No, because once this information started, 12th October 2005 is really a landmark in the history of the Indian citizens' history. Because why it is October 2005 onwards? Because this was started almost all 2 decades ago, but it was able to take a concrete step only in 2005 October. The ideal behind this is to provide transparency, accountability, responsibility in the government, and also this really makes the public official to maintain all the records. Very perfect way. Earlier, because the information, even then information was being shared, but now with this legislation, there is not only a tremendous pressure which is created on the public official, but also proper documentation, proper record maintenance. Everything is provided under this. So therefore, this information which is becoming very important. Now let us look at what is this access to information. Who can seek this information? Is there any fees for this? Whether a citizen has to give a reasoning of why he is seeking an information? All these are not necessary. In fact, the idea behind this is to provide information into the public domain. So therefore, there is no fee which is prescribed for any citizen who is below the poverty line. Okay. Other than the citizen, those who are below the poverty line, what we popularly call as a BPL group, they have to submit a whether is a DD or a Indian postal order, something about 10 rupees is a very nominal for seeking of the information. Okay. Another important thing is there is no need to specify the reason for seeking information or other personal details. What is required for this is the citizen has to give name, address, that is sufficient. But it is better to clearly identify what type of information is required, put them into a proper specific terms. Okay, that is required. So therefore, even the oral request can be made into writing. But it is better to write. There is no specific format for this again. You can write on a plain paper, but explain what type of information is required, how much of information is required, period, details of the information, nature of information, all these specific details of information which is required, which is very important. So therefore, that these are provided under the Right to Information Act. Provision also is provided under the legislation to provide assistance for the disabled persons to seek the information. Another important step or the procedure which is provided under the legislation is information has to be provided in the local language. There is a provision for penalty. This stringent penalty can be provided for the first time person who refuses to give or who delays in providing an information. So there is a time limit also which is being fixed, which is responsible also for the public official to provide an information. There is no need to wait till the time limit of 30 days which is available. That is what generally I advise all the others also. Whenever you get an information, immediately prepare that information, provide that information, don't wait for. No, because we have been habituated to a Sarkari culture. Where is the Sarkari culture means pass on the buck. This is not my responsibility. One section office person will say, this is not my responsibility, transfer it to other. Under the Right to Information Act, you have to immediately provide information. Don't transfer and don't wait for the 30 days to complete. We will look at some of these details in the next slides. So there is a provision for penalty. And the another one is it is open only to citizens of India. A foreigner cannot seek information under the Right to Information Act. Now let's look at some of the definitions which are provided under this Act. The important definition is information. Information means, as we discuss, record, document, anything. What is record? This is very important. Section 2I of the Right to Information Act explains what is record. Record means any document, manuscript, file, microfilm, fax copy of a document, or any of these computer, any device, floppy, anything which is available. So record includes not only the conventional forms of maintenance of the information, but even the modern information technology devices are also provided in that. Now we will look at what are the information which are exempted from disclosures. So far what we have discussed is what is information, how the information Right to Information Act provides access to information for the citizens. There are only very small sphere of activity or secrecy or confidentiality was provided under the Right to Information Act. Even now there is a debate to shrink these spaces, which is happening in the future. We will come to that a little later. What we have, the whole debates on the right to information. Right to information is emerging as an important source of the citizens' right to know. So what are these categories which are exempted under the right to information? Let's look at much more closely, which is very important. One is any issue which is related to the sovereignty, integrity of India. These are necessary which are exempted. But again the question is, what is really sovereignty and integrity of India? So, but there is this, if it is a really crucial, confidential, secret information, then whether the state or central government can withhold sharing that information. Second information is which is clearly forbidden by any court, and the disclosure may amount to contempt of court. This is again a very debatable issue about what is contempt, what is not a contempt. But if the court decides that some of these information is not necessary to be shared, that can be exempted. But again, a proper reasoning has to be given of why it is being forbidden. Third one is breach of privileges of Parliament or the state legislature. If it is a real reason that this will violate the Parliament or the state legislature codified privileges, then the information can be not provided. Next, trade secrets, intellectual property rights, or where there is some economic interest which is existing in that case. But again, what we have seen now in the whole issue of BT cotton, or the Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, which is a part of the Ministry of Environment, Government of India, which ultimately gives license for these not high yielding varieties, but the BT cotton type of new seeds which are coming into India. So even in that, the citizens have filed some of these RTI applications seeking information of how this particular seed which is being manufactured. So they wanted to know about this. So how much of these is a trade secret? How much of these is a patent? How much of these information can be shared to a citizen? How much of information is available in the public sphere? These are all the issues, debatable issues, which are again we are encountering, and some of these cases are pending before the final decision of the Supreme Court also. Next is information from foreign government. Yes, if it is really confidential, yes, it cannot be shared. Then like information which really affects life and physical safety of any person, yes, that cannot be shared with the citizens. Information which is impeding investigation, apprehension and prosecution of offenders, because if this information is given, then it may have an adverse impact on the trial or the criminal justice system. Yes, it cannot be given in that. Cabinet papers, including records of deliberations of the Council of Ministers, Secretaries and other officers. Again, it's a debatable. What is confidential in the cabinet papers? How much can be shared? How much cannot be shared? And the last one is a personal information that has no relationship to any public activity and invasion of the privacy of the individual. This is very important. Anything can be seen. The sphere of exemption from disclosure, confidentiality, secrecy is slowly being reduced. Earlier it was 100%, slowly it is coming to 50%, 40%, 30%, slowly that space is being shrinking. That we have seen the whole debate which is being raised when under RTA application citizen wanted to know about the assets of the judges, whether the judges of the Supreme Court, judges of the High Court, judges of the District Court. In the beginning, Chief Justice of India and the judiciary has taken a strong exception to this. They said, no, it cannot be shared. Already, whenever from the lower level to the higher level, when they join the judiciary, they declare the assets. But they said this information is available, but it is a confidential information. Citizens may use it for other purposes. But we have seen when the Law Ministry moved a resolution in the Parliament, they were not able to succeed about that, but there is a change. The judiciary itself, Chief Justice of India itself has come out and he said, yes, now we will also provide this information about the assets. That means what I am trying to explain is how the space is being shrinking. So now citizen can also seek what are the assets of the judiciary, because the Supreme Court itself has decided way back, I think in 2002 in the PUCL case, where they have said when any public servant contests in an election, they have to declare their assets. When they file the nomination paper, they are supposed to declare. So therefore, it is a wise decision is being taken by the Indian judiciary to declare their assets, and they said right to information will be, the citizen can seek an information. So these are all some of the exempt categories, but we can see in the due process or in the course of the time, all these exemptions are also slowly being reduced, and citizens' right to information is expanding rather than shrinking of the space. Then important question is related to who is a public authority. What type of information can I seek? Can a citizen seek an information from a company which is not a public official? Can a citizen seek an information from the private company, private agency, private individual? No. Right to Information Act provides citizen right to know, seek information only from a public official, either a state or a central government or a local body or anything. So let's look at who is a public authority, which is broadly, comprehensively defined under the Right to Information Act. What is a public authority? Public authority means any authority or body or institution of self-government established or constituted by the Constitution, by any law made by the Parliament, by any law made by state, or by notification of government. It also includes even substantially financed associations, NGOs, which are directly or indirectly getting funds from the government. So therefore, public authority is so comprehensive, which includes all the government institutions, whether the state or a central government or a local government, municipality, universities everywhere. All these public offices comes under the purview of the Right to Information Act. So therefore, except the companies, private companies, except private individual, other type of information which is available. Even debates are moving towards a direction where even a private individual or a private company, if they are engaged in the public service, they are also bound to provide the information. How do we seek the information? This is very important. A citizen or an individual, they need to first know what information they require, the nature of the information, the period where it is existing, identify the public authority where information is available. Because under this legislation, all governments, universities, any other local bodies, they have already established public information officers at each level. We know in IGNOU we have several public information officials, PIOs are available at each department. The university, the state or central government, any other public official, now they have to identify, they declare, whoever seeks an information, go to this person is the public information officer. So therefore, first a citizen needs to identify the public authority where this information is available. Then the important thing is submitting an application. When you submit an application, we need to clearly draft a detailed about what type of information which is required. This is a very important, and this is also very difficult. And we have seen in several RTI applications, sometimes they do not know what information they are seeking. As we said, there is no need to give why you are seeking an information, but a citizen should have a clear clarity on what information they require. Then after that, when they submit an application, there is a time limit, 30 days time. Within 30 days time, the public information officer has to provide this information. So therefore, very important, this is an area which requires a basic creating the knowledge, awareness and training which is required. How to write an RTI application. This is very important. In fact, School of Law, Indira Gandhi National Open University is in the process of developing an appreciation course on the right to information, where we wanted to demonstrate, we wanted to explain what are the success stories, how do you draft. So this is very crucial, where even the recent survey conducted by the Government of India, which has clearly revealed that there is a still lack of awareness in the use of this very good liberal progressive legislation like the Right to Information Act. Now let's look at what is the time limit in seeking the information. The first time limit is 30 days. When a citizen applies under RTI to get some information from a public official, means public information officer, PIO. PIO is the main nodal contact point at the first point. So there is a mandatory duty of 30 days. Within 30 days had to be provided. But I would suggest that at the earliest, don't wait for the 30 days to run. Okay. Second, there are some information which is required immediately. They cannot wait for 30 days, like life and liberty of a citizen. For instance, a person is being arrested by a police or by any other security agency, paramilitary force, army or something, Under the law, the citizen should be produced within 24 hours. And we have another important decision of the Indian Supreme Court under D.K. Basu. In the D.K. Basu case, Supreme Court has said there is a lot of documentation needs to be done. The arrest memo has to be provided to an accused. All these safeguards are there. But several times what happens? This arrest is not being entered into the station house diary of a police station. That is a very important. Unless this arrest is entered into the police station diary, all the constitutional safeguards, legal safeguards under various legislations is of no value. So therefore, Right to Information Act also has provided that whenever a citizen seeks information about life and liberty of a person, within 48 hours that information has to be provided. Already there are sufficient safeguards. If this information is not provided, there is a writ of habeas corpus, and already D.K. Basu provides some remedy. Search warrant is there, several things is there, but in spite of that, life and liberty are very precious. Time cannot wait. So 30 days cannot be given for in the case of life and liberty person. Therefore, 48 hours is a maximum time limit for a citizen to seek information about life, liberty of a person. It may be arrest, it may be search seizure, it may be anything which is related to that, where information has to be immediately provided. Next is about when there is an interest of a third party is involved. Citizen has seeking an information which is not immediately available with the public information officer, or it may be available but there is a third party interest is involved. In that case, there is an extra 10 days time limit which is being given. Instead of a 30 days, they can take 40 days. And one of the important provision under the RTI Act is whoever fails to provide information which is within that time period, which is considered as a refusal, and a penalty of 50 rupees per day is provided for the first time, and it increases. It increases for more for the second offender, and then this really puts a lot of pressure on the public official to immediately provide that information. Then comes the appeal. There are two types of appeals which are available for the citizen when at the first instance PIO refuses to provide the information. What we have seen is the first stage is citizen goes before the public information officer who has been designated, who has been, in fact, all the websites of the government have to declare who is a PIO. Because citizen needs to know. Sometimes if he is aware about who is a PIO, straight away the application or a letter can go to that PIO. Let us suppose if the PIO has not been identified, there is no need for a citizen to know who is a PIO. He can write straight away to the whoever is in charge of the government office, and that concerned person will send it to the concerned PIO to submit the information whichever is being asked. So that is the first stage. PIO within 30 days has to provide an information. Let us suppose PIO has not given, 30 days time is over. Is there any remedy available for the citizen? Yes, citizen can go next who is the senior in rank to the PIO. We know about within these institutions, whether the state or a central government or local bodies or various others. So they have designated. Within 30 days, if the information is not provided, the citizens can go whoever is the senior in rank to the PIO. The first appeal will lie to the whoever is in the senior in the hierarchy or a rank over the PIO. When he can go? After 30 days of the expiry of the prescribed time limit from the receipt of the decision. Let us suppose the citizen went to the first appeal, even then they were unsuccessful, or he or she is unsuccessful. then what is the remedy is available? The next remedy is the second appeal. Second appeal will lie to the Central Information Commission or the State Information Commission. This is, what is the time period here? Within 90 days. Okay, within 90 days of the date on which the decision was given or which was being made by the first appellate authority. Let us say first 30 days are over. Then they will go before the higher in the rank to the PIO. Then after that, within 90 days, if the first appeal authority has not provided the information, then the next available is go before the State Information Commission or the Central Information Commission, and they can seek the application. Another important aspect here is about how do you draft the appeal. This is very important, because as a academic institution, the university, we wanted to develop these skills. How do you write? How do you draft first application before the PIO? Second important is, when you go to the appellate authority, you have to clearly state what are the grounds. One is, immediately we know about within 30 days information is not being given. Let us say second is, they have refused. PIO has refused to provide an information. Then we need to look at what are the categories which are exempted. So when the citizen applies, goes for the first appeal, then the grounds are very important. Similarly, writing clearly the grounds of the second appeal are also important, because it depends upon, if the information is refused, what are the grounds on which it is refused, and you have to develop that argument. Some of these cases, the use of the NGOs which are working in this area, RTI activists which will be useful, and some cases the course which we are in the process of developing will aim at developing these skills. How do you draft the first appeal? How do you draft the second appeal? So this is the overview of the Right to Information Act, which was passed in the 2005, which is a liberal and the most progressive legislation in India. And we have seen for the first time the Aam Aadmi started thinking about or identified where to get an information. And first time the citizens started to know about everyday affairs of the governance, and ultimately, as R.K. Lakshman has pointed out, it is a real weapon of the common man, and the purpose and objective of the legislation will be achieved only when there is a comprehensive knowledge and awareness among the citizens to get this information, and they need to know about the basic thing of how to acquire an information, how to draft the first appeal, how to draft the second appeal, and all this will move towards the curtailing of the secrecy, sharing of the information, and moving towards a much more access-free, right-to-know environment. So this is the purpose of this teleconferencing, to discuss with the students of how do we use this Right to Information Act to prevent corruption and to fight for the liberal democratic governance structure in India, and to acquire basic skills of the right to information, and to become RTI activists at the various places wherever they are working. Thank you.